I wasn't ready anyway. So y'all just wasted everybody's time. Nobody cares about old Limp Bizkit music anymore. So y'all suck. Y'all suck. Maybe in like 30 years, you'll be like the monkeys. Hey, better not. We're the monkeys, and we're just monkeying around. And you're too busy singing. Put anybody there. Here's a little bit to my video.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Line. Good show tonight. We're talking about a difficult and often divisive issue. We're talking about abortion, and it is front and center this year in the Tennessee legislature. Governor Bill Lee has said he is going to advance a heartbeat bill, a bill that would ban abortions if a heartbeat is detected. Now, that has not been written yet. The language is not there yet, but we're going to talk about what that means. There's certainly going to be a court challenge should the legislature passes that, and just what are the implications for this proposal from Governor Lee. Happy to have with us tonight the Executive Director for Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood, Francy Hunt. Thank you for being here.
Good to be here.
Of course, we talked to all sides of this issue. You are very much opposed to this bill.
That's right.
What would, I'm going to ask what Planned Parenthood, Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood is in a moment, but what is your concern about this bill?
There are so many things that we're concerned about. It's hard to pick just one. I mean, I think one of the main reasons is that it is blatantly unconstitutional and fiscally irresponsible. I think that's something that even Tennessee Right to Life agrees with us on, which is ironic. When you have a bill that's being passed to defy the Constitution outright, it's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money to defend that.
That's what you're talking about.
Legislation, yeah.
When you say fiscally irresponsible, what you're talking about is the lawsuits that are going to follow.
Exactly.
The state will have to, if the state passes this, then the Attorney General will defend it. There'll be lawsuits trying to stop it. The state would have to defend it. That'll cost a lot of money.
Right. I mean, it is kind of curious to think how lawmakers are purposefully trying to pass legislation that they know is unconstitutional. In and of itself, that's a big question mark. But, underlying, we're also opposed to it because it does not allow those pregnant people to be able to make their own medical decisions. And regardless of where people stand in terms of their own feelings about abortion itself, from a policy standpoint, from a political standpoint, it's important to think about this in terms of power and in whose decision-making power should it be. And it is very much our position that any decisions regarding a person's pregnancy, whether it's giving up for adoption or carrying to term or terminating a pregnancy, needs to be left up to that pregnant person and her family, her faith, her doctor, but definitely not to politicians. And nobody asked Governor Bill Lee or the General Assembly for their opinion. We don't ask for their opinions whenever we go to the doctor and if we have health issues. So that is something where we feel that relationship between that physician and patient is critical and sacred, really.
What would this mean realistically? And I know it's going to be challenged in court, but let's say it passed and it becomes law. What does it mean? When is a heartbeat detected? I mean, at what point would this ban abortions? How do you define a heartbeat, I guess? What does it realistically mean if this were to go into place?
Well, I think if for anybody who actually saw or read about the governor's announcement of this, and by the way, it is an interesting question to think about, and this is a question for everyone. What is the motivation behind hosting a press conference about policy that has not yet been written? I mean, I just find that I have to pull it to the infrastructural level. Like that's, I think, pretty irresponsible. If you're talking about women's health and how to really support families, I think that we need more thoughtfulness in terms of how we provide that. But to your question, we saw Governor Lee with other legislators there, and they say their intent behind this bill is to outright ban abortion. It is an outright ban. So the whole, once the fetal heartbeat is detected in 6 weeks, and that kind of terminology is a little bit of a misnomer, because again, the intent is to make it completely illegal and to criminalize abortion.
That's what you believe the intent is. That's what they
say.
And what have other states done? Has this been passed in other states, and what has it meant in those states?
In every state where this has been tried, it has been found unconstitutional. So please keep in mind, me saying that it's unconstitutional and fiscally irresponsible is not just a Planned Parenthood talking point. You can ask almost anyone, including Tennessee Right to Life. That is an actual fact. 45 years ago in Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court held that states may not ban abortion before viability. For any reason. And since then, the Supreme Court has repeatedly reaffirmed this conclusion, including Planned Parenthood versus Casey in 1992, and most recently in 2016, with Whole Women's Health versus Hellerstedt. So a ban on abortion before viability, regardless of any exceptions, is blatantly unconstitutional. And this line is so clear that no court has ever upheld an early abortion ban. As much as the law on abortion has changed in the last 45 years, this central holding that categorically states may not ban abortion before viability remains steady.
And that's essentially what's going on now. The battle is, obviously there's a large number of people who would like to just ban abortion. But what we're seeing in legislatures and that kind of thing is bills that are being passed that would go to the Supreme Court to begin to chip away at Roe v. Wade and at abortion. Is that right?
Well, and here's some, actually most people don't want to ban abortion, and it's not even a lot of people. 72% of Americans want to see Roe v. Wade remain the law of the land. And in every state there has been no move to outright ban abortion the way we've been seeing and here. And so every state has been fighting these restrictions that are wholly unconstitutional and really disrespectful. So again, I want to delineate how individuals may feel about the abortion in and of itself, and delineate that from the actual policy of whose decision is it to be made. And that's what we're arguing here. We think that those decisions are so personal and private, they need to be left up to the women. So to your question of what's the impact, when in countries and in times where abortion has been illegal, it actually doesn't eliminate abortion. It just makes it illegal and therefore unsafe. And women die. And we don't want to go back to those days. And we won't go back.
And are you seeing a lot of these kinds of bills that people are saying, well, that's not quite going to pass muster, that's going to be struck down by a court? But it's just, are we seeing a lot of bills that are being passed simply to challenge Roe v. Wade as kind of the beginning of trying to overturn this, and they're coming at it from lots of different angles?
Right. And another word of saying challenge is to undermine the Constitution. They're purposefully trying to pass laws that will undermine our Constitution, that upholds this privacy for medical provision that in this particular instance is impacting women, but really it's a privacy infringement for all patients. And we see things like this. I mean, even with, I guess it was a couple years ago, was it a year ago? My time starts blurring together. In Tennessee, they passed legislation that for patients that are on Medicaid or TennCare, that they could not receive family planning services at providers that provide abortion. Well, the contradiction there is that, Planned Parenthood does not receive any public dollars for abortions anyway, because of the Hyde Amendment. And here in Tennessee, we opted out of any kind of Title X program. And so, but people come to us because we provide non-judgmental care, and they know that they can get really excellent family planning and birth control contraceptive services. And so the very people that we want to make sure that we can reach out to and have access to those services are the very folks that they're stripping away those rights. So it's not just abortion. I guess that's my point. They're not just limiting access to abortion. They're limiting access across the board for reproductive and sexual health from the very experts like Planned Parenthood, who that is our expertise. We have 4 health centers in Tennessee. We've got 2 health centers in Memphis, 1 in Nashville, and then 1 in Knoxville. And we provide a full range of healthcare services, including, family planning services, STI, STD testing and treatment. We provide trans care services. We also another service outside of the health center is we're one of the largest providers nationally for comprehensive sexuality education. We are, and I mentioned the healthcare piece and the sex ed piece to say, we're doing everything that we know science demonstrates as being impactful to actually reduce unintended pregnancies. And so, I would invite, I'm really looking for opportunities to reach across the aisle and work towards solutions that impact everyday people in their everyday lives. And the alarming thing to me and to us as Planned Parenthood about this really hateful piece of legislation is that the undercurrent behind it is very divisive. When you, again, back to this reality that what policymaker holds a press conference about a policy that has not been yet written, and it just speaks to the fact that this is highly politicized, and that's the motivation behind it. And we're saying, if you're going to pass policy, let's pass policy that actually helps people. We're in a community and in a country right now that is deeply divided. And if we love America, we have got to figure out how to work together, because we've got a lot of work that has to be done to make our communities better for our families and for our children. And that's the conversation I'm interested in having at the legislature.
You're saying you want to reach across, lines and
yes,
and find common ground. This seems like one of those debates where there's just not a lot of common ground. You have one side that's saying, any abortion is taking a life, and another side is saying you're taking away the rights of that person to make her own medical decisions. And these two sides have fought tooth and nail forever. What is the common ground? Be optimistic.
Sure.
What is the common ground here? How do these two sides that are so passionate in their views find something that's common?
Yeah. Any person that's serious about reducing the unintended pregnancy rate, which for our opposition will also, for their purpose, also result in reduced abortions, knows that the best way to combat that is through a lot of sexuality education. And that, when I say that, I mean not only your anatomy and physiology and knowing about birth control, in the parts of your body, but also healthy relationships and understanding what your values are and how to have very way medically accurate information in your decision making, and empowering individuals to make the best decisions for their health care. And we know there's direct lines between education and health outcomes, not only related to sexual health, but across the board. So education and sex education is a fundamental place where resources and time and energy needs to be spent. And also on family planning services and making sure that access to birth control and healthcare overall is met. And I think those are common ground places that we could operate. And, I will say also investing in healthcare access and making sure, I think that there's a lost opportunity to not expand Medicaid, which would bring in, federal dollars, which currently we're, turning away billions of dollars. And I just think that that's irresponsible.
You mentioned there are four Planned Parenthoods in all of Tennessee.
Yes.
So what is the access now for abortion in Tennessee? I mean, if you don't live in one of those areas where there's a Planned Parenthood, you could be far, far away from a place where you could even get one. Is that right? I mean, so where is Tennessee right now when it comes to access for abortion? And I mean, I think people might be surprised there are only four. You know, they might think there's one. You know, you hear about Planned Parenthood so much.
There's four Planned Parenthoods, and then there are other private providers as well.
Okay. Yeah. So where do we stand right now for access to abortion in Tennessee?
Well, you know, I think in 2014, a little history, in 2014, we narrowly lost a ballot initiative, which gave the legislature the constitutional authority to restrict or ban abortion for any reason. So since 2014, we've been barraged with a multitude of anti-abortion bills. And from that, we saw a 48-hour mandatory waiting period, which means that if you're a patient seeking an abortion, rather than seeing that physician and getting your procedure that day, you have to go in twice and you have to wait 48 hours. So it requires a 2-day visit, which for many people, that means taking off work, finding care for your children. And keep in mind too, I have to say, most people who have abortions are parents. They already have children. And so one of the efforts, and I want to invite listeners to participate if they go to our Twitter page or Facebook, they just have to look up Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood. Pinned to our pages is an open letter to Governor Lee. And it's from parents and caregivers and family members. And in that letter, we talk about that for us, being able to determine the size and the spacing of our children is a way for us to make sure that our families are taken care of in the best possible way. So
since that passed in 2014, would you say access to abortion has gone down in Tennessee?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more dangerous. We see not only the 48-hour, but they also did a politically scripted informed consent. So any physician for any medical procedure, you have to sign consent papers. You can't, get stitches without them telling you what the risks are or whatever, right? But they always the legislature treats abortion completely differently. And so they created language that a physician has to say that the legislature mandated versus like what a physician or a medical professional would know that needs to be said. So we've seen that come down the pike. The trigger law passed last year, which means that once if Roe v. Wade were to be dismantled, that it would immediately go into effect here in Tennessee. So again, the whole this whole strategy or whatever for this bill that's that the governor has put forward, it's just so full of holes and question marks as to why you would do that.
So, all right, we have to take a break.
Yeah.
We have a couple calls. Anna, John, others, hold on the line. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll start taking phone calls. If you want to join in the conversation, there is the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. We'll be back right after this.
This is an old replay, guys.
Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking about Governor Lee's heartbeat abortion bill. The bill has been proposed. The language has not been written.
Yeah, don't be calling in, because this is a replay. And plus, we want to go to part 2.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking about...
So now it's going to get fun. We get to do the phone calls. I did call into one of these one time. It's not that hard. I think I called on a hoax event, though. Just saying. So I called in, and I was like, why are they not, chained up? They killed, 10 people. And then They said something about the appearance of not guiltiness and all that, which is cool. I mean, I think the event, I have my suspicions, but I don't want to say anything. Why should I put my neck out there? Like, figure it out, people. Does this look real? Does this look fake? Like, you're going to have to just, if they lie to you once, you can't believe them no more. If they lie, if I sit there and I give you proof that they have lied to you on TV, you can't regurgitate stuff they said on TV to me, because I already proved TV is a liar. So you just have to cut your losses and save yourselves. Please. Cut your losses and save yourselves. Abortion is awful. I don't think we talk enough about it. Morning after pill, real abortion, it all does not feel good. It all makes you sick. They got these commercials on TV that act like it's no big deal. And it seems like the only people that actually want to warn you is the guys that actually pharmacy, CVS people. Go CVS. So I think Governor Lee just got a whole bunch of treasure in heaven because he signed this bill. This is an old broadcast. I can show you Governor Lee signing the bill. That's why me and him are at a pass right now. We're at a peace. We're at a peace because I'm pretty mad about Corona. I'm pretty mad that he goes on TV and acts like the stuff is real. Again, I give you footage of them lying about the hospitals. Once they lied about the hospitals, and people suffered for that. People actually suffered. Even my family, knowing people that did go in the hospitals, I got in trouble. Like, we all suffered. People are like, what are you doing? This is crazy. We're proving them wrong. We're proving them liars. I got the paperwork. My local hospital and the one uptown, about 45 minutes away, they furloughed 300 nurses during the epidemic. Furloughed 300 nurses. I'm tired of this crap. I mean, what other evidence do you need? Don't believe anything this news media is putting out. And the only reason we're watching it is so I can just keep educating everybody, because nobody wants to wake up. The thing is this TV has been there for them when no one liked them, when nobody would talk to them, was there when their parents weren't there, was there to talk to them when, late at night when everyone else is in bed. People love their TV more than they love people. And we need to quit this. Just quit it. They ain't worth nothing but trouble. And you're going to have to just go to other news medias. This is ridiculous. I mean, it's not hard to check to go and get the same sources they use. They don't work that hard most of the time. He ain't even my favorite. I like someone else. I like the other guy. And I can't remember his name.
Abortion. And the governor proposed heartbeat abortion bill. The language is not yet written, but he has said he is going to advance that bill in this legislative session. We have with us the executive director for Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood, Francy Hunt. And we kind of set the table for the discussion in the first part of the show. Let's just go to the phones now. Let's go to Anna. Hello, Anna.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Planned means helping people, not destroying. Why don't you do hysterectomies rather than abortions? That would help many of the disabled, mentally young people and prevent them from...
Okay, lady. you got so many disabled mental young people is because of the vaccines. Like, we are so lost. If they just keep feeding you lies, you'll never know the truth. But yeah, I guess I've had like 2 cups of coffee this morning on an empty stomach, but good grief. And it's not this lady's fault. I love you. Hysterectomies, I just fixed my cat. Okay? I just fixed my cat like 3 months ago. She's had 2 litters. My bedroom was full of kittens, and I had to stop this, and I fixed her. Well, let me tell you something. My cat is now fat and unhappy most of the time and moody, and sometimes she loves me, sometimes she hates me. She's a totally different cat. So there you go. But you know, I do have a disabled adult I take care of, and she probably couldn't manage the normal female hygiene. And the hysterectomy that already happened before I came along was a good idea. I'm not dissing anybody on that one, because she has a hard enough time just cleaning the bathroom.
Messing up the rest of their lives, that would give them a start. And the other thing is, we do not want our tax dollars going for murder. And yes, the Constitution is against murder. That is, the Constitution is against crime. So therefore, if you do a crime, which is murder, you're going to go to jail.
Okay,
and not only jail, lady.
Okay, well, let's talk about what she's saying. Doesn't want our
where else
tax
is this
dollars
lady going
toward abortion,
this is
which
fun.
she's calling murder. All right, take all of that.
Sure.
Hold on. Oh my gosh, we gotta play a song. I'm definitely coming back to this. I gotta pay attention to my little girl for a minute. Hold on, we got some music. Oh my gosh, I love her. Okay. I missed this when I was on TV. I'm glad we get to rewatch it. I'm glad we get to watch it together. It's the first time I got to see it. I'm having fun. I like it when the evils get called demons.
Think you're pretty, not inside. Think you're pretty, not inside. Think you're better, you probably are. Think you're better, you probably are. I will beat on Demon Slayer, I will slay the slayers. I will beat on Demon Slayer, I will slay the slayers. If she doesn't drink me dry, I'll stay behind while she lies. If she doesn't drink me dry, I'll stay behind while she lies. Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! You think you're hot? You're totally not. You think you're hot? You're totally not. You're so conceited. Yes, you are. You're so conceited. Yes, you are. I will beat on Demon Slayer. I will slay the service. I will beat on Demon Slayer. I will slay the service. If she doesn't drink me dry, I'll be behind while she lies. If she doesn't drink me dry, I'll be behind while she lies. Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! Get on the head, get on the head, get on the head. Burn it! You think you're pretty, not on the inside. You think you're pretty, not on the inside. You think you're better, you probably are. You think you're better, you probably are. Good for, good for, good for. Why did Homeland Security write 2 billion bullets? What are they preparing for? What are they preparing for? And why aren't we ready? While the war goes on around, obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. Obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for. Why am I the only one looking? Why am I the only one talking? Why am I the only one standing? While the war goes on, yeah. Obey, obey, obey. Good for, good for, good for.
I don't know how to work a Mac. I don't know. It's every day is a struggle, guys. That's okay. I can work it at my own pace. That's what laughs
First of all, there's an amendment at the federal level called the Hyde Amendment, which restricts any public dollars to be used to pay for abortions. So it's really a misnomer, a myth, a lie to espouse that anyone is using taxpayer dollars to pay for an abortion. So that's just something that needs to be clarified.
That is said over and over again.
Yeah.
And so if that is the truth, then that needs to really be said. It is said over and over. I've heard people say, I'm not opposed to abortion, but I'm opposed to my tax dollars paying for abortion. And what are you saying?
Right. No, I'm going to look at the camera. Nobody's taxpayer dollars are being used to pay for abortions. Nobody's taxes are being used to pay for abortions. There's the Hyde Amendment. I'm sure it's on Wikipedia. Look it up. No public dollars are used for abortion.
So how are they paying? How are they paid for?
Through their, if their health insurance covers it, they could, I think, I don't actually know about the insurance part, but, or out of pocket.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So that is part one
Yeah.
to her argument. She's calling it murder. And I can't remember the rest of what she said, but very passionate about it. What do you want to say there? Address that.
Yeah, I actually, I don't think that, and I'll speak as a woman. I don't think that women who have abortions are murderers. I think that they're often mothers. And so that was one of the reasons why we wanted to create this open letter that we invite anyone to go to our Twitter or our Facebook, find the link, and they can sign.
It kind of makes some mothers look bad. And I wouldn't put up with that. Honestly. I want another phone call.
And if you don't mind, I'll just read it. It's not that long. But folks, if this is your sentiment, we invite you to please sign on. And it goes to Governor Lee. Dear Governor Lee, we, the undersigned, are called by our lived experiences as parents, caregivers, and family members to stand up for the dignity and autonomy of pregnant people. We have lived through typical and complicated pregnancies, and we are raising children we love deeply. We oppose all attempts to criminalize and restrict abortion access. 1 in 4 Tennessee women will need an abortion at some point in their lives, and we understand how difficult this decision can be. Many of us have had abortions ourselves. In fact, 59% of people who have had abortions already have a child. Our reasons are our own, made in deep consultation with faith, family, and medical providers. At no point did we ask our governor or state legislator for an opinion. When a person does decide that abortion is their best option, they need community support, not obstacles preventing safe access to medical care. These bills will not eliminate abortion, but will force pregnant people to turn to unregulated and often dangerous attempts to end their pregnancies, and force pregnant people to become parents, including survivors of rape and incest. Rather than force people to have babies, our state lawmakers should focus on broadly popular ideas to support new families, such as paid leave, access to affordable care, and reasonable accommodations for pregnant workers. We believe simply in treating pregnant people as we teach our children to treat each other, with dignity, compassion, and respect. As parents, caregivers, and family members, we often fight on behalf of our children while putting our own needs aside. It's time for us all to recognize that abortion access is a critical issue for current and future families. We trust people who are pregnant to make thoughtful, moral decisions and urge our state leaders to do the same. So for many families, it is out of deep thoughtfulness that they're making these decisions, and often it's a lot more complex. It's really just not as simple as one might think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, all right. Let's go to the phones again. Let's go to John. Hello, John.
Yes, my name is Dr. John. I'm the president of the American Council on Excellence, and I am a board-certified medical psychotherapist and a wellness doctor. And I've spent over 45 years counseling women who have been traumatized, much more serious than even PTSD, because of the fact that they've had abortion. So she's not addressing this. You know, when people listen to the argument she just made in terms of emotional needs and all of the concerns, if women take more caution, it's a simple algebraic equation. Let me break it down. And I hope at some point ABC and CBS and NBC allow professionals who are board certified in areas such as me, who have dealt with the trauma in hundreds and hundreds of cases with patients who had their lives devastated because they had an abortion. And she's not talking about that, but I hope at some point you allow professionals like myself to come up and speak about the dangers. And it comes down to a simple algebraic equation.
Okay.
Something all of us have learned at some point in algebra. And it's A plus B is equal to C, or you can use C minus B is equal to A. That's a tripod. If you take any one of the tripod away, and there's a specific tripod in our Constitution that is built upon the Declaration. And any organization in the United States is a corporation. We're a federal corporation.
Okay, so you're going to have to really speed it up. You got to really speed it up. Okay.
Okay, let me say real quickly. A is life. All men are created equal and endowed by their Creator. This is the exact words of the Declaration. A is what we all have. If we don't protect A, then we cannot use liberty. There's no good sense when we say we're giving someone an abortion because of compassion. No, let them have the baby and let them donate the baby, or let them have somebody help them. And there are many institutions that can do that. So A is without life, there is no liberty. And then C is the pursuit of property. So without A, you can't enjoy B because there's no liberty without life. And therefore, you rob all of us of the pursuit of property. And that's a fundamental algebraic equation that she's not dealing with. And by the way, I've been a CEO and a city manager. For anybody who...
Okay, all right, let's talk about the trauma he's talking about here. I don't know about the A-B thing, but all right, the trauma.
Yeah, I got lost on the property part. But
so
you cut him off so early.
I've heard that discussed, that women who have an abortion regret it. They are traumatized. He's saying he's spoken to many. What do you say about that?
I heard me traumatized.
Well, I think that for the very few women that actually regret their abortion, I think it is very important for them to get counseling and help. We want healing for all people. But the fact of the matter is, all of the research indicates that most people, the vast majority of people that seek abortions, their feeling after the abortion is relief. That is how they feel. And it continues afterwards. So, I mean, I think that, if you want to get largely philosophical, I think there's lots of decisions that we make in our life, and some are regrettable and others are not. But it continues to be our position that decision making needs to rest in the hands of those individuals and their families. So just because a very few folks made the wrong choice for themselves does not mean that we pass a law to strip away privacy rights from everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and where do you see this going right now in the legislature? Again, the language is not on this bill, but it probably has support. I mean, but what is going to be, what are the steps you're going to be taking in this legislative session as it pertains to this bill?
I mean, I think we're doing what I'm doing right now and just helping. There's so many lies and mischaracterizations out there because I really understand opponents that really believe that it's life. And I think that can be held truly, and at the same time, from a public policy standpoint, also work to protect privacy and ensure that those decisions are under the jurisdiction of those individuals and their families rather than government. I think we can hold those things both at the same time. And so I think it's a false kind of, again, back at the whole polarization problem really that we have in our communities, is to settle in and really think about what is the problem that we're trying to solve. And if we really want to promote life, what's really going to help us promote life? It's going to be solid, great sex education. It's going to be access to health care. It's going to be all of the surrounding supports that we can provide as a community, such as public education. All of those things are the things that help individuals develop into their fullest potential.
And those are the things that we all need to be talking about as well.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll then start taking more calls. There's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.
From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Open Line.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Line. Good show tonight. We're talking about a difficult and often divisive issue. We're talking about abortion, and it is front and center this year in the Tennessee legislature. Governor Bill Lee has said he is going to advance a heartbeat bill, a bill that would ban abortions if a heartbeat is detected. Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking about Governor Lee's heartbeat abortion bill. The bill has been proposed. The language has not been written, but it's going to be brought forward in this legislative session. We have with us Francy Hunt. She's obviously opposed to this bill. She is the executive director for Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood. And we're going to go back to the phones, several calls. Let's go to Julie. Hello, Julie.
Hi.
Hi, what's on your mind?
I have a question about, like, I think I might have two questions. I want to know where people can go to get, like, actual accurate information about, like, abortion statistics, because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation right now. And I also want to know how this bill that Governor Lee is proposing is different from the 6-week ban bill that we saw earlier this year.
The 6-week ban bill.
Yeah.
Okay, where accurate information, and then I guess give us background on the 6-week ban bill that she's asking about.
Sure. I think for accurate information, I would invite people to go to Planned Parenthood. They can give us a call. They can look up our website, pptnm.org. That's Planned Parenthood of Tennessee and North Mississippi. So it's pptnm.org. And they can get our number and some information there and reach us that way to talk to a person that can help give information. There are lots of really great websites as well. The Guttmacher Institute is a place that has a lot of policy research at the national level. We have Planned Parenthood Federation of America, so that'd be ppfa.org, and at the national or the local level, we'd be able to point folks to the right place relative to our issues. And the other question was...
The 6-week ban bill.
Oh, yeah.
How is this different? But tell me first, what is the 6-week ban bill?
It's the same. The 6-week ban is more accurate in that, I think the reason why the opposition calls it a fetal heartbeat bill is to kind of evoke emotion. Again, not really from a scientific perspective. We know that a fetal heartbeat could be detected as early as 6 weeks. So what really we're talking about is banning abortion at 6 weeks. And, that's when most women, by the time they've missed their menstrual cycle, which has only been, if they're regularly cycling, it'd only be 2 weeks in, they would be pregnant a lot of times before they realize that they're, the abortion would be banned for them before they even realize that they're pregnant. So in that aspect, it's very much the same in terms of intent for what they want to do. Again, they want to ban abortion outright. And the impact we know is that banning abortion does not eliminate abortion. It just makes it illegal and unsafe. What happened last year is that because so many of us from both sides of the aisle recognized that it was so blatantly unconstitutional and so terribly fiscally irresponsible, the bill stalled. And the Senate Judiciary held a special hearing over the summer, actually. It was a 2-day special hearing. And that's where they were hoping to kind of resolve how they were going to be able to move forward or not on this unconstitutional bill. Again, this bill has not yet been written, so it's very difficult to comment on it. But from what we understand, we think it probably would have some sort of ladder mechanism where or a trigger mechanism rather, where they'll ban it at this stage, and then if that's found unconstitutional, then it'll be a ban at the next stage, and so forth. So, the trigger mechanism in and of itself has also been suspected of being unconstitutional as well, from my understanding. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm not a lawyer. I just happen to know how that's been working in other places.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. Kimberly. Hello, Kimberly. Are you there, Kimberly?
I am.
Hi, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
My question is for someone who is pro-choice. What ways can I be involved, and what do you think the best use of resources and is for me to speak out against the bill and stand up for what I want as my right?
Thank you. Yeah, that's an excellent question. I really appreciate that because we need all hands on deck. It is not without any significance that even though it's somewhat of a political posturing to do a press conference before you have a bill, we still want to take it seriously because we actually have the governor of our state pushing for what he's wanting to be the most comprehensive anti-abortion bill in the country. So we have to take that very seriously. Anybody that honors a woman's right to choose and an individual's private medical decisions need to stand with us this year. And so there's a few ways that they can participate. We have a Day on the Hill coming up on February the 11th. We would love to have you join us. If you want to reach us through our website, pptnm.org, or you can go to our Facebook page. We have a PPTNM and a TAP site, Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood. You can find us that way. Message us. We'll plug you in. We have several action forums planned. And at those action forums, we'll be able to go more in depth on some of the legislation because the governor's bill is just one of several bills that we're monitoring this year. And we're excited to be kind of pushing forward on some of those proactive things that I mentioned earlier, where I hope we can find some common ground to support maternity care and birth control and preventive care for children. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the phones. Rob. Hello, Rob.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
I just wondered how that man, the governor, and the legislator are all men, how they can decide for a woman for what her to do with her own body. The mental stress and strain on that woman, carrying that child for 9 months, put on there by a governor and a legislator, to me is totally wrong. That's between that woman and the child she's carrying is between her and God. It has nothing to do with the men in power or the laws. It's the law of God. The child, if that child is aborted, will go straight to heaven. That woman, that's her decision, in my opinion, to be made by her and the Lord. And that's all I have to say.
All right. I'm sure they would say go back to the child and the life and that kind of thing. But he's talking about how can men make this decision for women in the legislature.
Oh, Rob, I loved everything you had to say. We could use you in the legislature. That was great. We need higher thinking men that support this very personal decision-making process. So I really appreciated his comment a whole lot. It is ironic. I mean, we know that abortions can happen across gender. But I do think that it is notable that many of the legislators that would never have to actually be faced with this decision are the ones in power making the decision for other people. And it's when you look at the folks on both sides, you could see that demographic difference for sure. I hope that we develop as a community and as a nation where we can develop real empathy towards one another. And I really appreciated what he said, that just being supportive for that woman. I think the best, and even to the other caller that was not even on our side, I think that for any individual that is facing this decision, regardless of their decision, has to be met with compassion. And not judgment, and not being called murderers, and not, being protested against when they're coming to our health center to get birth control. It's rude. It's disrespectful. Nobody likes that. I think that there's enough. I just urge the listeners to focus on the ways that we could unite. There's a lot of work to be done in this world. There's a lot of work that that needs to be done for our children in our own communities. Let's do that. Let's focus on that.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Stay on the line if you're on the line. We'll get to your call. Take a break. Be back right after this.
Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow is composed of original footage and interviews by CM Films and archival material, which is the property of the Walt Disney Company. This archival material
Beat abortion bill that will be in the legislature this year. We have with us Francy Hunt, Executive Director for Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood. And let's go back to the phones here. Let's go to Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay.
Hi, yes.
Hi, what's on your mind?
I'm just like so frustrated, and I think it's so hypocritical that these lawmakers are saying that they're fiscal conservatives, and yet they're proposing a bill that we know will get, tied up in the courts and, cost the taxpayers a lot of money to like litigate and all of that. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on that about, just so-called fiscal conservatives doing something that's so the opposite of that?
Okay. We talked a little bit about that at the beginning, but this will be challenged in court, and the state will have to defend it if it passes this, and that will cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
is the essence there.
Yeah, I think that is. I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting juxtaposition that on the one hand, taxpayer dollars are going to be wasted on defending unconstitutional pieces of legislation that will be found unconstitutional. So you're basically spending money to find out what you know already, And then from the other caller that was worried about taxpayer dollars being used for abortions, which doesn't happen. So it's like this weird taxation confusion, misinformation. I think that we need to be very clear that in this case, if you're very concerned about your tax dollars, you need to be against this bill, the governor's bill that would essentially ban abortions in Tennessee. That is where, if you're worried about your pocketbook, this is the bill you need to be actively opposing.
Because we don't know how much it would cost.
Right. Millions,
so
we know that.
That's a fair argument. It would cost a lot of money. It could get struck down. And there are people on both sides that say that. But let's say it goes beyond that for some people. This is so passionate, so divisive an issue. And there's some people who just say they don't care about the cost. It's about life. And again, what I want, is there any way that there is common ground? And you've spoken a little bit about that, but I know when you were answering that question, there are probably people out there going, it's about life. It's not about the money. What is the common ground here when things are so polarized? We've heard it in some of these calls tonight. Let's try and reach back to that. Mm-hmm. What is common? Somebody's out there saying it's about life. It's not about money. You care about life. And so how do we meet?
Yeah. I mean, I think that our supporters, we're people that have had abortions, that have had miscarriages. We know what it's like to look forward to a pregnancy and then it doesn't work out. We've cried over that. So we understand that compassion over a fetus. And we've also been folks that have children. We see the range of the care and responsibility it takes to raise life. And so I feel like there is a lot of opportunity to be thinking about how do we promote healthcare? How do we make sure that once they're born, that they're getting the best education possible, that they're in loving environments, that they're in safe environments. We have a lot of work to be done just even on the environment. And traffic, hello, Middle Tennessee. We need to think about traffic. All of those things are quality of life issues. I feel like those are things that if we were really honest with ourselves are the things that really impact us the most, and not getting tied up in some of these distracting and really they're tools to politically distract us from the things that matter to us the most. I would be very suspicious of any policymaker that does those kind of that performs those kinds of political stunts.
So that's what you're saying about the governor then?
I think that it was politically motivated. I do. Yep.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back and basically wrap everything up. Take a break. Be back right after this.
Hear that, Governor Lee? He said you don't care about babies. You don't care about babies. You care about politics. Can you believe she said that? I'll say that's one thing you've been consistent on. So I'd say it runs in the Believe department. I think this is the last one. It's not very long.
So a good discussion tonight, passionate as you would expect on both sides. I apologize to those we did not get to, several callers we did not get to, but we got a good representation, I think, from both sides. It shows there's a lot of passion and divisiveness. Where do you go from here?
Well, I think we want to urge listeners to visit our website, pptnm.org, or go to our Facebook pages at PPTNM or TAP, which is short for Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood. Find us there. We're also on Twitter, and you can
anywhere
message us there if you want to know more. On those sites, you'll see our upcoming lobby days. We have several lobby days, actually. So February the 11th is the one first up, and then we have another one on the 25th. We have other events, action forums across the state that people can come to and learn more about it. And we would really urge folks to sign the open letter, because we will deliver that to the governor.
The letter you read earlier.
Yes.
All right, Francy Hunt, Executive Director for Tennessee Advocates for Planned Parenthood. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks to those again who called in. Stay tuned now. Sportsline is coming up next. Have a great night, everybody.
And before you do something else in your life, the rhetoric that you just regurgitated. Appreciate it. Regurgitated. That's a Flutterfucker thing. It's awesome. Flutterfucker's awesome. You want to see me? We ain't got much video.
A major decision about Tennessee's abortion law was made in the state Senate last night. Now the state will be fighting a legal battle that some hope will go to the Supreme Court. And as News Channel 5's Kyle Horan learned, the lawsuits could cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
The legislature and the governor have been very clear about this abortion bill. They believe that it will lead to a Supreme Court challenge of the ruling of Roe versus Wade.
Am I grateful for the heartbeat law? Yes, it's going to save a lot of lives.
Outside Planned Parenthood, pro-life advocates are rejoicing over a decision made just this morning.
Every day here at Planned Parenthood, babies die. And so every day that babies die, it's my responsibility to come out here and speak for the voiceless and the defenseless.
They're excited that the Tennessee state legislature has passed a fetal heartbeat bill.
Vote aye.
That bans abortions once a fetal heartbeat is detected or as early as 6 weeks.
So you'll see what a baby looks like at 8 to 10 weeks right here.
Scott Hord says he's proud of the state.
It is definitely a hot button topic. And and we're in it to
That's a
fight.
big
Does this
difference.
bill contain an exception for rape or incest?
There's no exception for rape or incest.
But Senate Democrats are suggesting the move came in a dishonest manner. The Senate voted on it early this morning.
The legislature has passed probably the most significant bill that we passed the entire year in the middle of the night with remarkably limited debate.
Nashville Senator Jeff Yarborough tried to raise the red flag.
Legislation of this magnitude that affects so many women across the state in such a profound way, after not giving any notice and in fact discouraging people from contacting their legislators. It's one of the most appalling departures from democratic norms that I've seen as a legislator.
Especially for a bill that makes no concessions for rape or abuse. Republicans have also admitted this is a way to challenge the Supreme Court.
This bill saves lives.
And overturn abortion law in the states. Kyle Horan, News Channel 5.
Both the ACLU and Planned Parenthood say they plan to fight this legislation.
Okay, here we go.
It's our responsibility to protect the most vulnerable in our community. And certainly the most vulnerable in Tennessee includes the unborn.
Shortly after Governor Bill Lee signed the so-called heartbeat bill into law today, a federal judge blocked it.
10 News reporter Katie Inman explains how that law was met with immediate opposition.
Which is why, with the signature of this bill.
On Monday afternoon, Governor Bill Lee put ink to paper, signing the so-called heartbeat bill into law.
Tennessee is one of the most pro-life states in America.
But minutes after this photo op, a federal judge blocked the decision with a temporary restraining order for the tough new abortion restrictions. That's after a lawsuit filed by the Center for Reproductive Rights, the American Civil Liberties Union, Planned Parenthood Federation of America, and the ACLU of Tennessee. Each group saying the abortion bans are unconstitutional. One of the most restrictive abortion bills in the country, the heartbeat bill, would ban abortions once a fetal heartbeat is detected as early as 6 weeks.
Life is precious, and everything that is precious is worth protecting. We know that in Tennessee, and I certainly know that in my heart, which is why we work so hard together with the legislature.
The bill, originally passed through the legislature in the middle of the night in June, was immediately met by opposition from Tennessee Democrats, including House Democratic Caucus Chairman Mike Stewart, who says, once again, the Lee administration has turned its back on the women of Tennessee. The bill has no exception for rape and could lead to the return of back alley abortions to the state. This bill makes it illegal for medical professionals to perform abortions after 6 weeks and also requires an ultrasound before an abortion. Katie Inman, 10 News.
The block on the bill will last until July 27th at noon. A preliminary injunction will be considered at a hearing on July 24th.
It's our responsibility.
Good morning, Mikey. We're getting in deep this morning. But court already left. Just me and you.
The federal court delivers a blow to Governor Bill Lee. A judge ruled the state cannot enforce a bill that bans abortions after doctors detect a fetal heartbeat.
Governor Lee signed that bill into a law. Less than an hour later, a judge struck it down. News Channel 5's Jason Lamb explains there is a major court battle to fight.
The ruling from the federal court in Nashville today doesn't throw out the fetal heartbeat bill altogether. It just stops the bill from being enforced until a judge can hear arguments for and against it next week. That judge's action effectively mutes for now what Governor Lee did less than an hour earlier during a social media video update.
With the signature of this bill, Tennessee is one of the most pro-life states in America.
Today's ruling at the U.S. District Court in Nashville sets up a potential future showdown over abortion rights at the U.S. Supreme Court, where Chief Justice John Roberts has disappointed conservatives lately with decisions upholding abortion rights. Today, federal judge Chip Campbell, a President Trump appointee, wrote in granting the temporary restraining order that those seeking abortions in Tennessee will suffer immediate and irreparable injury,
saying the law will immediately impact patients seeking abortions and imposes criminal sanctions on abortion providers. Conservatives like Lee say that's exactly the kind of thing the state needs.
Life is precious, and everything that is precious is worth protecting. We know that in Tennessee, and I certainly know that.
Groups like ACLU of Tennessee and Planned Parenthood hailed today's decision as an important win, but they acknowledged a major court battle still to come. Jason Lamb, News Channel 5.
They want you to acknowledge defeat, acknowledge fear. I'm not acknowledging it. I'm not. No defeat, no fear. Alrighty. Let's go out with some music.
Don't let them win space inside your mind, mind. Don't let them win space inside your mind, Struggle! My prayers. Don't let them win space inside your mind, Don't let them win space inside your mind, Why we fight you? 'Cause you wanna control us. 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 Struggle, 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 struggle. My prayers, my prayers, my prayers, my prayers. Don't let them win space inside your mind, Don't let them win space inside your mind, Why we fight you? 'Cause you wanna control us. 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 Control us. Control us. Control us.
Thank y'all, everybody. That wraps up the Tennessee abortion bill, heartbeat bill drama saga. So we will definitely see you later. And I love you guys. Aww. You know, we're segregated, but maybe it's just better. I don't want anything to do with them. They don't want anything to do with me. See how this works out? I'm fine. I can't get rid of people. That's my